multiple windows. I just want this window. All right. So as always, thank you. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Tonight is January 24th, 2023. It is 8:17 p.m. We're a little late on the start. Tonight we will be going over, finishing up the questions from lesson 15, titled Personality. Going into the questions for lesson 16, Propaganda. And then we're doing a reading for lesson 17 titled Communism. So first thing we would like to do is our pledge to the red, black, and green, or the pledge to the UNIA flag, not the red, black, and green flag. Even though it is red, black, and green, we should get into the habit of calling this flag what it is, not just the colors. This flag is the official flag of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. And this is our pledge. So, okay. Also, one of the things that we just implemented locally is trying to do the pledge correctly. So this tonight, instead of doing a call and response, we should be doing this together, not singing it, but doing the pledge together at the same time. So if you would, please find your black flag, find your flag, or picture one in your mind and repeat after me. I commit my body, well, no, don't repeat after me, but say it along with me. I commit my body, mind, and spirit to the protection, defense, and security of the red, black, and green. I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa and the liberation of her scattered black children. I accept for myself and my descendants the teachings of universal African nationalism. And I promise that our children will be instilled with the purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people. In order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail, until all black people are free and united through one God, one aim, one destiny. Race first. All right. Yeah, so for 2023 and moving forward, this is how we will do our pledge, do the pledge. All right. Any questions, comments on anything before we jump into the lesson? Yeah, I gotta go here first. Yeah, we gotta finish personality. No questions? Well, let me check on these children. All right. Okay. So finishing up the lesson on personality, we were in the section where Garvey was talking about our occupations. And again, this is a lesson that we read 2 weeks ago at this point, so maybe a little bit to remember. In regards to our occupation, what does Garvey consider a waste of time? In regards to our occupation, what does Garvey consider a waste of time? Okay. Garvey says to carelessly choose your occupation. Page 123.
Oh, is that when he says, if you choose the wrong occupation, it's a waste of time if you haven't, if you pick the wrong one and then you want to have to leave it or something?
Pretty much, but the way I try to remember this, or the way I remember it, or I've internalized it, is when we look at some of the earlier lessons, when Garvey talked about having your head and your heart in alignment. So from an occupation standpoint, your head in it would probably be well-paying occupations. So people that are just going after whatever job is the best paying, those are people that are, following their head. And then others that pursue jobs or acquire jobs that they may like to do, but it doesn't pay them as well. But to say what Garvey said directly, he says to carelessly choose your occupation or employment and find out afterwards that it does not suit your nature is a waste of time. But we have to be conscious of what we are pursuing for our occupations and make sure it's something that is in our nature, as Garvey says. Not just something to pay the bills. If you dislike your employment or occupation, you will not concentrate on it and give the best results. You will not concentrate on it and give the best results to your own benefit, because you will always be thinking of something else while mechanically doing what you are occupied with. So we should be passionate about our occupations is the takeaway. Questions, comments, anything? When we are in the public eye, what should we try to maintain? I don't know the answer to this. I would say dignity or character. What should we try to maintain? Attention or interest? I don't know. What do y'all think? When we're in the public eye, what should we try to maintain?
I'm gonna guess what's a good personality?
Dignity.
Yeah, I see dignity in here. Never be frivolous in the public eye or in the eye of company, because they will mark you down as frivolous and irresponsible person. Always try to maintain the dignity of seriousness, or at least a poise that would suggest you are a person of dignified reserve. So when we're in the public eye, we should maintain dignity. I think this goes back again to previous lessons, character. Well, this is personality, so it's like character part 2. But yeah. Questions, comments? The dignity of seriousness, or at least poise. That's very small, hard to read that. But... All right, next question. In life and death, what 3 stages must we go through one time, and what must we do at each stage? What does Garvey talk about? The 3 stages of life.
Yeah. Is it the thing like with the Sphinx where you're a child, a man, and well, he says a corpse.
Yeah. Yes. So that's the answer per Garvey's lessons. He says that we must go through these phases and must go through them where we are a child once in life, you're an adult or man once in life, and you are a corpse once in life. What must we do at each of these 3 stages?
Act like a child, prance and giggle. As a child, be serious, dignified as a man, and rest peacefully as a corpse.
Absolutely. A man must be a man. Woman must... Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sister Brenda.
I said, and I'm reading it straight from the book.
That's all right.
Okay.
I don't remember that question at all.
Really?
No, I don't know why. Yeah, I'm like a blank. I don't remember that question at all.
All right.
That was a good one though.
So this is after he talks about maintaining dignity. And then he says to go giggling, prancing, and jumping about like a child stamps you as a clown. A man must be a man, a woman must be a woman, while a child must be a child. You are a child once, a man once, and a corpse once. In the three stages, you must behave according to nature. Again, he's bringing in that nature. Prance and giggle as a child, be serious and dignified as a man, and rest peacefully as a corpse. So I like this one. I like this because it also talks about this in the Bible. When you become of age, you put away the things of your childhood, but we really have to evaluate ourselves as quote unquote leaders of the UNIA and as adults in the UNIA. There are times, to have fun, to joke, to lighten the mood, but I feel that we must first be serious. We must first, and that's why we're here. We're talking about, governance, politics, organization, institutions, character, personality, God, Christ. These are serious topics. Even within the lessons, Garvey has some humor, but we have to accept the maturity and responsibility of being adults and being the responsible individuals within our race. And us accepting that responsibility, we have to think about what that means and how we carry ourselves, but at the end of the day, we should not be acting like a child, all day, every day, but yet we're calling ourselves men and women. So questions, comments? Okay. But yeah, I mean, and for this, like, I think a great example is, women, I guess y'all talking salons, but men, we talk in the barbershop, so when you in the barbershop and you hear the conversations, are people talking about politics and policy and what's going on what's happening with our people locally and nationally, or are we talking about who had the most points in the game last night? What's the next album to come out? For me, these things that's the child realm, and it's time for us at some point, our 30s or our 40s, our 50s. We need to mature, and our thoughts and our actions need to mature as well. All right, I'm off that. A child, a man, and a corpse, prance and giggle, be serious and dignified, and rest peacefully as a corpse. Eventually the time will come where our number is called. And when that time comes, only thing that we will have to leave behind is our legacy. And that legacy is based upon our behavior, our habits, the things that we say, the things that we do, and the things that we create, But when you look at, there's been millions of people, billions of people that have existed since the time of Garvey, millions and billions of our people as well. But who has left a legacy as rich as Garvey? There aren't many, and that's the shoes that we're claiming to step into, is saying that, when we leave and we're gone, our work will live on, for decades and hopefully hundreds of years. But you can't do that if you're acting like a child your whole life. All right. Next question. What happens when we continue to make the wrong decisions in life long term? Something bad, obviously. What happens when we continue to make the wrong decisions in life long term? You fail in life, I would think. You become a failure is what comes to my mind.
That's it. Your life will end as a complete failure.
I won't cheat, and I promise y'all.
Because you're never able to master anything.
Where is that at? What paragraph?
Oh, I gotta get the book. I put it down. Sorry.
Oh, man.
It's the second.
Okay.
It's right there.
Oh, yeah. If you go on making mistakes of that, okay, well, what mistakes are you talking about? If you happen to make a mistake in getting employment or position that is not suited to your nature, so again, going back to the previous question, suited to your nature and disposition while working at it, do the best you can to maintain your reputation, exercise your effort to find the occupation or employment you are best suited for, and see that you do not make a second mistake, but find your right place in life. If you go on making mistakes of that kind, basically not aligning your occupation with your nature, or aligning your life with your purpose, basically. Your life will end as a complete failure because you will never be able to master anything because your whole soul and heart was never in anything. So again, Garvey talks, head and heart, soul and heart, head, soul, mind. We talked about the Trinity in one of the earlier lessons, and how Garvey personified that Trinity in the human body. But these concepts of what I consider alignment, between what Garvey says here, our soul and our heart, they must be in a line. And your soul knows, and your heart, we know when things aren't in a line. But Garvey, is telling us that we should not do that repeatedly long term, because our heart will never be in anything and we will never truly be able to reach our potential. Questions, comments? Your life will end as a complete failure. You'll never did master anything. Your whole soul and heart was never in anything. All right. That's what this one is. Before you can impress others and get them, and this is a quote, so quote, before you can impress others and get them to follow you or imitate you or accept your suggestions of anything higher in life, what must you first show? Before we can impress others and get them to follow you or imitate you or accept your suggestions, what must you show? What does Garvey recommend that we show?
Success in something.
Absolutely. Evidence of success in whatever we are suggesting. So I'm not going to go to the book on this one, but I think social media is a perfect example of people giving opinions and suggestions for things that they've never been successful in themselves. I love having this discussion amongst us as leaders, because we can understand and we can relate. But it's like when people, we all have meetings, and people come into a meeting and make a grand suggestion as to what the organization should be doing, but they themselves show no proof of success in what they are proposing. So we as Garveyites, we as leaders, we should understand that we should not be making any type of suggestions if it's not something that we can show a level of success in. So don't, I think that's kind of hypocritical, but stay in your lane. And others should stay in theirs. This is not in the book, but the word was used. Does anybody know what impertinence means, and how was this word used in this lesson?
Disrespectful.
Ooh, disrespectful.
Insolent. Let's see. An unmannerly intrusion or presumption. Insolent.
And
Hold on, what was the first answer you gave, Sister Brenda?
Disrespectful behavior or language, rudeness.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Insolent.
I think that's it.
yeah, so in one of our previous lessons, Garvey used the word when we were talking about God. Garvey said it's presumptuous for man to question God. And he was saying, we don't have the intellectual capacity basically to question God. Here he's saying impertinence, and he used that in regards to the previous question. So impertinence is lack of respect, rude, and then he says on page 124, open that up. It is impertinence for a man who has not succeeded through his personality to suggest to other people how they can succeed. Therefore, make yourself a success, and other people will follow your advice because they see success in you. So we should not display this characteristic of impertinence. We should not be rude and presumptuous to make a suggestion that we have no success in, and we have not shown any success in. Questions, comments? To maintain a good personality and robust individuality, what must we keep? Good personality, robust individuality, what must we keep? This is a tough question.
Is it, I want to say health.
Yeah.
I was thinking hygiene or something.
Keep your body in proper physical condition.
The body in proper physical condition. So yeah, health. It's on page. To maintain a good personality and robust individuality, be sure to keep your body in proper physical condition. There's no better way to. Okay, and then that's the next question actually. I already remember that one. What's the best way to keep good physical condition?
Purgative.
How often?
Don't remember.
Is it monthly or weekly? Well, he didn't. Okay.
Just clean your body out though.
Doing this. Okay. I thought in elocution, because this is the second time he's talked about a purgative, and I think in elocution he may have detailed how often. It might have been once a month, once a week, but he don't do that here.
He says it in here too, I think. Once a week. There's no better way to do this than at least once a week.
Where is that at?
Right there. Where you are. At the top of the paragraph. Second sentence.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So to maintain a good personality, robust individuality, be sure to keep your body in proper physical condition. There's no better way to do this than at least once a week to take some kind of effective purgative. Again, these are Garvey's lessons in his time. If our facts or reasoning and logic disagrees with it, Garvey gives us that right. But at the end of the day, we should at least have a foundation. And if we don't know, how to keep proper physical condition, this should, as a Garveyite, I would think, if you don't have anything else, this should be part of your foundation. So questions, comments?
Yeah, I would say you can eat a balanced diet and then you won't need it.
Yeah, he don't really talk about, I guess, water he talked about drinking water when you're speaking, but drinking water regularly, he don't really, but these concepts of nutrition and health, they evolve over time. So
Right.
If there's anything, I would expect, this portion of it to be updated. Okay. All right, next question. So 3 more questions on personality, then we'll go into propaganda. Why should we not try to make an important speech with a clogged system? So this is the importance of a purgative and purging your system. Why should we not try to make a speech with a clogged system, according to Garvey? I remember this one.
You won't think clearly. Your
Mhm.
thoughts be clogged up. Your thoughts.
Pretty much. Sister Brenda, you wanna?
Oh, I agree.
You don't got it in the, okay.
Oh, wait,
Sis-
am I supposed to have it in front of me?
No, I thought you may have had the
That's what it said. The poison of your system will get upon your mind,
right,
keep you so hazy in thought as
right,
to not reveal the mentality of your true self.
yes. So, and Garvey's philosophy, he felt, and it makes sense, that the poisons in our body will get to our mind, and cloud our thoughts, cloud our judgment, which makes sense. Questions, comments on that? We should keep our systems clean. But again, it's hygiene and health. These are some things that I consider to be quote unquote hidden lessons, because Garvey doesn't explicitly say, this is what you should do for hygiene, this is what you should do for health. But he hides these lessons within other lessons. So that's just my opinion. Poison will get upon your mind. What does Garvey say is always a prevention against threatening diseases? Oh, God. A strong immune system? I don't know.
Well, to keep your system regularly cleansed.
Okay, so he's the purging. Keep your system clear at least once a week. If a motor car runs all the time without being cleaned, overhauled, suddenly break down, and it's iron, how much more will a human body not break down if it doesn't keep his system clear? Everything he eats does not pass out voluntarily. Some things remain in the system to breed germs of disease, which may affect you in all ways. The greatest insurance is to keep your system regularly cleansed. So Garvey's big on purgatives and trying to keep system clean and clear, which makes you question how they say he died, but that's a whole nother thing. We're not gonna get into all that. Clear system. And we should know this from the lesson on elocution as well. This is another repeat question. What is the most important organ in regards to affecting the whole nervous system? It's actually a two. I would think this is a two-answer question. What is the most important organ in regards to affecting the whole nervous system?
The stomach.
Yes, Garvey says the stomach.
I'm over here saying, is the stomach an organ?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I was just
But I make you Google it. But I'm also thinking, isn't the brain like the head of the nervous system, or the central part of the nervous system? Like if you got,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
if your brain bad, your whole nervous system, I would think your whole nervous system is bad. But
Wait, so
Yeah, that's
y'all
what I thought.
never watch Mad Max? What is it, Beyond the Thunderdome or something? One of those Mad Max movies where Tina Turner clogged up the excretory system and everything went haywire.
I don't remember that, but I know the movie you're talking about.
Oh, well, maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but I think that's what she did.
Okay. But yeah, Garvey, big on stomach and keeping our stomachs clear. He says, I think better to be half full than wholly filled. A heavy stomach or distorted stomach affects the whole nervous system. All nerves are related in the human body, and they depend upon the stomach, chiefly as a main artery of supply. If the stomach grows sick, it tends to poison throughout the whole body. Keep your stomach clear. It is better to be half hungry than wholly filled. So we should keep our stomachs light and cleansed. But that's how the lesson ends. Questions, comments on lesson 15? Okay. We got quite a few lessons on, quite a few questions on lesson 16. We may not go through all of them, but I don't write down. I try not to like make questions that aren't useful. First question: what does propaganda mean? And what does propaganda mean?
Something that's used to relay an idea.
Something you use to relay an idea. Yes. Anybody else? But I think Garvey used the word propagate, but that's synonymous with relaying. But propagate or relay ideas, share ideas, try to convince people of your ideas. What is the desire of propaganda? And I kind of just said a little bit of it.
To relay a message or idea or thought, or get someone to do something through that message as well.
There you go. There you go. It's not just simply the relaying of information, but there's an expectation in propaganda that you convince that individual, or convince them to take action or to have a certain belief. So this one is, I got the whole book here. On page 126, Garvey says propaganda means to propagate or make known extensively some particular phase of human intelligence. The desire is to convert or influence the people to the acceptance of the truth of that particular intelligence that is sought to be spread among them, directed at the public for the purpose of winning the support of that public, to convert people to their principles and get them to support them, even though there may be no merit at all. So any questions, comments on propaganda and what it is and what the desire of propaganda is? And I think one of Garvey's quotes, propaganda has done more to ruin the good intentions of men in open warfare or something like that. It's in Philosophies and Opinions, but he's got some profound ideology around propaganda. But this should be one of our most powerful tools. And when you look at Garvey in the Negro world, propaganda was definitely a powerful tool that he was able to use and our ancestors were able to use in their time. So we have to, bring that into modern time. And I've got some questions at the end as to our current day propaganda. But in essence, a Garveyite should be a propagandist, in essence. Questions, comments? Okay. Next question, where can you find propaganda and what are institutions of propaganda? Where can you find propaganda first?
I think he said everywhere.
Yeah, it's all around you.
Yes, sir. He did say everywhere. And what are the institutions of propaganda?
Churches.
Advertisement.
Churches, advertisement.
Yep. Schools.
Schools.
Of course, movies, television, news. Now,
Television,
I'm not sure
news,
the back.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So Garvey says on page 126, Propaganda is all around you to make you buy a special brand of cigarettes, although no good, but advertised to the best to make you drink or use a certain brand of tea, telling you its wonderful qualities and its everlasting benefits when there's absolutely nothing to it, and so on. So when I think about like Nike and, you know, how they advertise to the youth that, you know, these shoes will help you run faster, jump higher, but it don't really do that. So, and where did he talk about the institutions? Oh, here we go. The press, cinema, pulpit, classroom are all propaganda agencies for one thing or the other. But in addition, you know, news, well, that's press, television, advertising. So questions, comments on where we can find propaganda? Propaganda is all around us, and our people are falling victim to it without even knowing about it. You know, some of us don't have the capacity to even realize we're being taken advantage of. Okay, how was propaganda used on the Germans? So Garvey had an example about Germans and the difference in propaganda between 1914 and 1918. What was he saying? How was propaganda used against the Germans in this time?
It was used to discredit the Germans.
Used to discredit the Germans?
Yeah. To hold them up for world ridicule.
Hold them up for world ridicule.
And the contempt of civilization. I don't get that part.
Yes. But there's two sides, because you gave me the 1918, but in the 1914, Garvey says before the war of 1914, 1918, the Germans were known to be the most cultured and scientific people in Europe. So I don't know. I would assume, he's not stating it clearly, but you have to assume that there's a level of propaganda that was in place to give Germans this type of persona, you know. So in 1914, Germans were seen as the most cultured, scientific people in Europe. Then when the war started, other nations, in order to discredit the Germans and hold them up to the world ridicule and contempt of civilization, released the propaganda that classified the Germans as Huns and barbarians. This also reveals how organized intention can be carried to the public for the public acceptance without thought. And that's what I was saying, like, you know, a lot of our people don't even know, you know, what's going on and the commercials that are being fed to them, interracial relationships, the transgender, you know, the fluidity, sexual identity, all that stuff. But Garvey was using this example to show how propaganda can be used to empower a group of people or elevate them, and then it can also be used to demonize them and have them characterized as public nuisance, you know, to where the entire population feels a certain type of way about you just based upon the propaganda that the institutions, again, going back to institutions and society, but the propaganda that the institutions are putting out. Questions, comments? Number 4, what are some different types of propaganda? Types of propaganda. So we talked about the school, the church, press, and that kind of, when you look at what these institutions do, that'll let you know the types.
It's also the cinema and the pulpit.
Yes, well, those are the institutions.
Okay.
That's not the types.
The types is
It's right after that.
Okay.
You
So
mean like newspapers or something?
Oh, written propaganda.
What type of propaganda does the pulpit provide? The church?
religious propaganda,
There you go. So
Okay.
classroom educational propaganda.
exactly. So Garvey says the pulpit carries religious, you got religious propaganda, schoolroom carries, you got educational propaganda, the press carries out written propaganda, platforms carry out oral propaganda, cinema carries out demonstrative propaganda. But we have to understand the institutions of propaganda, but we also have to understand the different types of propaganda. These methods have been devised by the white man to spread his ideas universally among men. That is why he is able, in a major sense, to control the minds of the people of the world. But propaganda. So we know the institutions of propaganda, we know types of propaganda, we know what it's for and how it's used. What are two types of biblical propaganda? Propaganda that's in the Bible. They deal with race.
That Jesus was white? Is that what he's talking about? One of them. And
Yeah, but it was more detailed than just Jesus is white.
that I know. Was he talking about the? Let's go back to the Simon Syrian one, or
No, no.
yeah, it's different chapters. Okay.
There's a certain way colors are described in the Bible that relate to race.
Like darkness being the evil and white being like salvation.
Pretty much, yes. The angels and the Holy Family are white. The devils and imps of hell are black. Wash me white as snow. These are just a couple of the things that I pulled that Garvey kind of, talked about, but we have to be careful with religious propaganda. This is still religious propaganda. Garvey does teach us to read this text every day, read a chapter of the Bible every day, but we should read it with a level of discernment and a level of reasoning. So, questions, comments? What should we do with propaganda that does not glorify our race?
Make propaganda that does.
Make propaganda that does, but what should we do with the propaganda that does not glorify us? Even though we're still making stuff that does glorify us, and we should promote that over the other propaganda. But what does Garvey say that we should do with propaganda that does not glorify our race? The easy answer would be to ignore it. He goes beyond that.
Speak against it directly?
Speak against it directly.
I was gonna say never accept.
Never accept.
Never accept. I like that too.
He says treat them as trash, but never accept. I guess that would be in line with it. Let me go to the text on this one. 128. Tear from your walls all pictures that glorify other races. Tear up and burn every bit of propaganda that does not carry your idea of things. Treat them as trash. So, yeah, treat them as trash. To be frank, the white Jesus image, we should treat it as trash. So, promote our propaganda, and propaganda that does not glorify us, we treat as trash. Questions, comments? All right. Why should we keep our homes free and clear of objects that glorify other races?
Because our children will start growing up glorifying those other races.
Yeah, I think, yep. Anybody else? I think he pretty much hit that one. Yep, you hit it right on the head. Keep your home free and clear of alien objects of glorification of other races. Otherwise, your children will grow up and adore and glorify other people. Put in the place of others the heroes and noble characters of your own race. So, we are, again, mindlessly indoctrinating our children when we have these images. I know some people, Black people, used to think, Bill Clinton was the first Black president, or, other presidents that have done things for Black people. John F. Kennedy, was well liked by Black people. But when we have these images in our homes, around our children, around our youth, we're basically indoctrinating them into the propaganda that these are individuals to be, I ain't gonna say worship, but respected, and not to say that they shouldn't be, but we should also have images of Garvey's, Farrakhan's, Elijah Muhammad's, leaders in our community, Collins. It shouldn't just be white people. Martin Luther King. I mean,
Right next to you, man. You know how Martin Luther King.
I'd rather.
Kennedy right next to each other.
Nah, you can't have. Well, I guess you can. Yeah, you're right.
You normally find.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's what you will find. You'll find Kennedy and Martin on the same side of the wall.
Hey, that's. If it was Kennedy by itself, I'd be upset. So at least they, they may be unconsciously trying. Questions, comments on yeah. Any questions, comments on that?
Garvey's parents probably had Garvey on the. Martin's parents probably had Garvey on the wall. The two parents, not the next parents probably had Garvey on the wall.
That's not Farrakhan. I don't know if y'all know about Farrakhan and his introduction into the movement. This is just a quick segue, but if you look at some of Farrakhan's speeches, and when he talks about how he first came into everything, his knowledge, there was a picture on the wall of an African man, a melanated man, and he asked his family at the time, who is this man? He said Marcus Garvey, and he said, I want to meet this man, and they told him that Marcus Garvey had transitioned, and Farrakhan says that he cried, because he couldn't meet this individual. But we just have to be thankful that his family had the knowledge of self, had the pride in themselves to put these images in that household, because Farrakhan has done a lot of good work for our people here in Atlanta. So, I mean, not in Atlanta, in America. Questions, comments, anything? Where does all propaganda come from? Where does all propaganda come from, according to Marcus Garvey?
Desire of individuals,
The desire,
and not from the whole race, something of that level. The desire of individuals, I think, is right for sure, though.
anybody else want to help him? So Garvey says on page 129, the arranged desire of individuals, not from a race as a whole. It is the thinkers and leaders who originate propaganda. So when we look at the propaganda that's out there, and we talk about, one of our adversaries, white people, or Caucasians, not necessarily our adversary, because Garvey says that Caucasians have their place in this world, and we have to find a way to coexist. So I don't want to say our adversaries or anything like that, but the dominant society, when we look at them, and when you look at like police brutality and things like that, we have to understand not all of them are involved or are in a position of leadership to create these levels of propaganda. And it's the groups. So I've said before, we should be organization and institution is, in my opinion, the best solution. But when we think about what we're fighting against, we're not fighting against, I mean, we are fighting against people and masses of people and things like that, but we're really fighting against small organizations and powerful institutions. And these institutions have the ability, and have the funds and the resources to affect the masses. But it's not the masses that are consciously involved in the creation of the propaganda. But as Garvey says, it's the range desires of individuals that create propaganda, not from a race as a whole. It's the thinkers and leaders of that race that develop the propaganda. Any questions, comments? And it also applies to us as Garveyites. We can't expect our race as a whole to originate propaganda. It's up to the leaders and the thinkers, and that's who we are supposed to be. So we should be developing the propaganda, race first, Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. These are propaganda ideals. And we just have a responsibility to continue to come up with these ideals and continue to promote them to the mass population. Questions, comments? Okay. Why shouldn't we follow the propaganda of others?
Because it's meant to deceive us. It's not meant for us.
Not
We
meant
should
for
create
us, it's meant to deceive us. This reminds me of Garvey's quote, "Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you." But why shouldn't we follow propaganda of others? But yes, it's not for us. He may be leading us down the wrong path, basically. Garvey says he may lead you to a circus tent and take away your pocketbook. I guess I gotta go to the book on that one. Ooh. It is thinkers and leaders who originate propaganda. By insisting its wide distribution, they get other people to think as they like. Don't follow the band down the street because it plays sweet music. He may lead you into a circus tent and take away your pocketbook. That is to say, don't get on anybody's bandwagon because he may drive you to hell with his sweet music, like the Pied Piper of Hamelin, who played his sweet pipe and led the rats out of the city into a sea and drowned them. But self-initiative, we must have our own will, our own intelligence, and our own personality, but we must be self-reliant, self-governing. So we can't, and as Garvey said in The Purpose of Institutions, if we submit to someone else's propaganda and we don't develop our own, we by default consider their propaganda to be superior, and we can't continue to do that. We have to develop our own. What is propaganda organized by others always planned for? When others organize propaganda, what is it always planned for?
to take advantage of you.
Pretty much. Propaganda organized by someone else is always circulated to take advantage of you. Am I showing the right thing? That right there. Propaganda organized by somebody else is always calculated to take advantage of you. Don't help them do so. Always ask, what is this about? What is the object of this? Who has sent this out? What is he aiming at? Will it hurt me and my race? Is he trying to get an advantage over me? Is this honest? Is it true? But we really, as a people, we got to get better at asking questions and not just going along, somebody saying, hey, they giving out, free chicken down the street. And we, oh, okay, I'm going to go get it. We really need to start being inquisitive and asking questions and using our own logic and our own intelligence and not just following someone else's path. Any questions, comments? What color should we wear when we are mourning and why?
White.
Why white?
They're trying to paint white as life and dark as death. So we should get dark when we get married and white when we it's a funeral.
Yes, sir. But okay, yeah. When he is mourning, he should wear white. This is meeting propaganda with propaganda. So again, Garvey's going back to propaganda and how colors are being associated with behaviors and ideologies. And black is bad, white is good. Black is death, white is life. White is marriage, black is funeral. So Garvey's saying, fight that head on, and just flip it, So now black is happy, black is good, and white is bad. Black is marriage and weddings, white is death and funerals. But it's just, understanding what propaganda is trying to be presented to you and, acting within your own intelligence, your own logic, your own will to counter that propaganda. Questions, comments? Okay. Next question, what are customs based on? And I would relate this. Yeah, what are customs based on? I'll just keep it like that. Keep it where Garvey said it. How do people develop customs? And I would say customs is synonymous with culture. That's what I was going to say. But how are customs, what are customs based on, according to Garvey?
Accepting propaganda.
Acceptance of propaganda, pretty much. Customs are based upon your acceptance of propaganda, but he went into it a little bit more because he was talking, he had talked about, I didn't get nothing from 130. I don't know. He talked about propaganda being developed not by the masses, but by small groups. Therefore, customs are based upon the acceptance of propaganda skillfully engineered. Have your own propaganda and hand it down through the ages. Write your own poetry and recite it. Compose your own songs and sing them. Write your own interpretation of the scriptures and history and teach them as far as the interpretation of others affect your race. So, but yeah, we have to just acknowledge, be aware of propaganda, but also counter propaganda. Questions, comments? Oh, I wasn't even sharing the thing. Yeah, but I read it. Okay. What happens to an error that is not corrected?
People believe it's true.
People believe it's true. And what does this mean for the UNIA? I don't
That
even
we gotta correct every error, every lie that's said about the black people. We can't let it go I don't know the word.
Unchecked.
Unchecked.
Yeah. Absolutely. So challenge the thought of any book or other literature that dishonors or discredits you in any particular way, and give it the widest publicity so as to undo the harm intended. So give the widest publicity to the correction to what's dishonoring you. Remember always that an error not corrected ultimately becomes a fact. Never allow false statements or allegations against your race to become current and pass into history as if they were facts. So Garvey in a previous lesson did talk about the importance of basically reputation, and if someone is speaking poorly or writing poorly or trying to discredit the UNIA, we must immediately counter that propaganda and make sure that it does not go down in history as a uncontested fact, you know. Questions, comments? Next question, what is war and what are the aims of war? What is war?
Where you're sharing it, so I can see that it's a hellish passion of man.
Oh, hold up.
You're not sharing anymore. It's good.
Wow, that's crazy. Like that was a delay because I didn't have it. It was just a delay. But what is war? Hellish passions of man. What are the aims of war?
Of self-interest. One's self-interest being achieved. Like, or the nations or institutions self-interest. But since it's only a few people who think and set out propaganda, so it's people at the top.
Yes, yeah. When you said the people at the top, that kind of goes into what Gary was saying. Anybody else have anything on aims of war? Okay. One of the things that I pulled out of this portion of this lesson is it took me back to the lesson on man and how Garvey talked about the wickedness of man. And for me, this is taking the wickedness of man and putting it on a organization, a society, a nation level. You know, so when, you know, a nation becomes wicked or whatever, or nations become wicked, that's when you have war. And the aims of war, I believe, is it's like the strong oppressing the weak. Hellish passion of man let loose in opposition to man. It sums up the cruelty of man towards man. So when we talk about, you know, man and how naturally wicked he is, I think this part of the lesson is expounding on that. It always aims at the stronger taking advantage of the weaker. So when you said top, I related that to the stronger take advantage of the weaker to gain that which could not have been acquired otherwise. So war takes place when everything else falls apart. You know, you tried diplomacy, you know, you've tried, you know, other things, and nothing is working. The strong is not getting what they want from the weak. So that's when war happens. Questions, comments?
I always say the last test of sovereignty is force. That's why we must come together.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. All right, number 5. When do men resort to war? I kind of touched on that just now. Shoot. I hate when I do that. When do men resort to war?
They can't get what they want through any other means.
Pretty much. Stronger take advantage of the weaker because the failure to use human reason. War comes when men fail to adjust their differences with reasoning. So when all of our previous lessons, character, you know, the Bible, trying to be intelligent, diplomacy, when all of that fails, you know, we have to survive as a people. So that's when war happens. Questions, comments? Man, this stuff is so long. Where did the first war start? What's the first documented war? And this was discussed in Man as well, I'm pretty sure.
Cain killed Abel.
Absolutely. when Cain killed Abel. So, it's something that has been going on since the dawn of time. And we don't expect it to change anytime soon. But Cain and Abel is when war started. Questions, comments on that? Next question, which generation has shown that man intends to become wholly reasonable or peaceful? Which generation throughout history showed that man intends to be wholly reasonable?
Has there been one?
Anyone else? Absolutely, Brother Macy's.
It's
No
it's
generation.
no generation, right?
Correct. Yeah, this is one of those trick
He
questions.
was right.
No generation has shown that man intends to become wholly reasonable. Therefore, in time of peace, prepare for war, so as not to be caught unprepared by your enemy, who will naturally be stronger if he is prepared while you are not preparing and using the implements of war. But basically, war is a reality of our world, and at the very least, we should be prepared for it. Not that we should be planning for it, but we should be prepared for it. Any questions or comments? War is the best time to take advantage of what? What can you take advantage of during war?
People fighting each other. So since they're distracted fighting each other, you can put your propaganda out and try to get what we need.
Pretty much, let me see, page 132. When there is war, use all implements disposal, do not discuss terms. When war comes, all resources and intelligence well. Therefore, what? Where is this at? War is not a good thing. War is the best time to take advantage of your transgressor, whoever he may be. Whenever he is engaged in war and he promises you nothing, you will never get anything from him in time of peace. Therefore, during the time of war, make your bargains before you help anybody else in war. If you are suffering from the abuse of others and there should be a threat of war against them from one other source, encourage it, because it will be your chance to force a square deal. But basically, Garvey's talking about using diplomacy when your enemies are at war. And as Omacia said, when they're distracted, we should be focused on progressing ourselves. And yeah. And with the amount of wars that America has been in, since Garvey's time, I feel like we should have a better plan as a people, because America has basically been distracted. How do you become stronger while people are warring against themselves? How do you become stronger while people are
That's the part I went into.
Let me see, what did I write? The more other people war against themselves, the stronger you become if you exercise good judgment. So being diplomatic, understanding that in a time of war, you have bargains, as he said, and you can also, if you have diplomacy and you have a relationship with the nation that you're warring against, if you have a relationship with their enemy, then you can provoke them to get involved in the war as well. But it's not the first time that Garvey talked about having good judgment, good reasoning, good logic. But questions, comments? All right. What is our only hope of escaping hate and prejudice of other people? Escaping hate and prejudice of other people. only hope of escaping hate and prejudice of other people. Avoid war? I don't know.
Keep them, oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. Something about keeping them severely occupied. That's all I can remember.
You said it verbatim.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. I'll be off sometimes.
Divide your enemies so as to gain your advantage. Always keep them divided so as to be able to gain the advantage. Your only hope of escaping the hate and prejudice of other people is to keep them severely occupied with other problems. So keep them distracted. Don't let them keep us distracted. All right. And this is, yeah, I think this is the last one. This better be the last one. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, this, okay. Yeah. So we done with the questions. I had a couple questions that I wanted to ask to see how one, to see what we think, and two, to provide some context. So what is the most dominant propaganda item in the lives of our people? So melanated people globally, what's the most dominant item of propaganda?
Television.
Television?
I'll say social media.
Social media? Television, social media. Anybody else want to shake a shot?
I can think of so many. I don't know which one is the most dominant.
And this is, I think, I'm pretty sure this is my opinion. It's not in the book, but the Holy Bible. When you know,
That's a good one.
Garvey uses it as an example in this lesson. Even when we look at social media and television, a lot of what they promote is based upon biblical propaganda. You know, the one race being greater than the other, or you know, white being good, black being bad. Still,
That's true. That's true. Wow. Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. And then one more question. So we are the leaders of the UNIA, correct? Or aspiring leaders of the UNIA. So we must represent, we must know how to represent and defend the UNIA. So what are the UNIA-ACL's forms of propaganda? What are our propaganda that we should be promoting to our people on a regular basis?
The Garvey Voice.
Yeah.
Radio show.
And the
Website.
Yeah. And this is not everything, but the two main ones, Garvey Voice magazine and UNIA-ACL website. We still have, you know, the books, Philosophy and Opinion. Well, actually, I'll just go to New Marcus Garvey Library by Tony Martin. Probably should be in there as well. But from a UNIA government standpoint, propagating ideology on a regular basis, I would say these are our two strongest forms from a parent body standpoint. I know that all of us local divisions, you know, you may have Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, but when it comes to a unified UNIA-ACL message, and I feel weird kind of saying that because I know what's in the garbage, but these are our two. I would say these are our two biggest forms of propaganda that we should be promoting.
President John,
Yes, sir.
I
Brother Macias.
He must have gotten a phone call.
You want to keep watching my remove or?
All right.
Check your Texas, please, man.
Brother
Can you
Mason,
hear
you
me?
here?
I'm back. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I was saying about the mass meetings as propaganda.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
That's the pulpit.
Yeah, at the very least, when and especially on social media, when people are asking, how can I learn more? How can I get more information? We should definitely be promoting our meetings, but if individuals can't attend the meetings, we should be promoting Garvey's Voice magazine, and we should definitely be promoting our UNIA-ACL government website. Questions, comments? Brother Everett, you got your line coming through. Okay, if there aren't any questions, I don't think I have anything else on the slides. Pretty sure, yeah. Let's get ready for next week. So we will go through our reading for this evening. Hopefully we can get out of here by 10 o'clock. We should be fine. 10 o'clock Eastern. Brother Masis, will you be reading for us?
I got you.
Thank you,
My
my
best,
brother.
get us out of here.
Thank you, my brother. You have the floor.
All right, just gotta share it. I'm still seeing the questions. It's just me. Oh, there we go. Lesson 17, communism. Communism is a white man's creation to solve his own political and economic problems. It suggests the enthronement of the white working class over the capitalistic class of the race. It was conceived by white men who were in sympathy with the economic struggles of their own white masses. It was never conceived and originally intended for the economic or political emancipation of the Blacks, but rather to raise the earning capacity of the lowest class of white workers. It was founded principally on the theory of Karl Marx, who knew very little about Negroes and who thought and worked and wrote less about them. It is a dangerous theory of economic and political reformation because it seeks to put government in the hands of an ignorant white mass who have not been able to destroy their natural prejudices towards Negroes and other non-white people. While it may be a good thing for them, it will be a bad thing for the Negroes who will fall under the government of the most ignorant, prejudiced class of the white race. The ignorant white man is cruel and prejudiced because of his very ignorance. Therefore, you may see how dangerous it would be to place in his hands, by the very strength of his numbers, a government dictated and controlled by him. While the capitalist system is ruthless and bad, it nevertheless gives the Negro a chance of employment competitive with the working class of white men for the purpose of extracting profit from labor, irrespective of the color of labor. The Negro, not being an industrial employer, shares therefore the opportunity to labor in competition with the white worker only because the white capitalist is willing to use anybody who can contribute to the most profit to his industries, regardless of color. The capitalist white man is an enemy of communism for the preservation of his own interests, if nothing more. The Negro is not his own industrial employer and loses the goodwill of white capitalist employers because he is a communist, he will find himself unemployed. This is just what the communist wants, so as not to have a Black competitor. This will enable him to dictate his term to the white employer and get him at the expense of the unemployed Negro because he too is a communist. The idea of the communists inviting Negroes to join their ranks is to support their theory that Negroes are communists too, so that if a white employer has to decide between a Black communist and a white communist by the appeal of race, the white communist will get the consideration and the advantage. Therefore, the scheme coming from the white communists is to make Negroes communists. It is a vile and wicked scheme. The communists have created their own party and organization of which they are the international leaders. They alone, as executives, know the policy and designs of the Communist Party, which are kept from the Negroes for the purpose of fooling them into a sense of false security. When it is considered that all the outrages in war, mob violence, and extreme punishment have been administered to the Negro by the lowest class of white agents as soldiers in war, as sailors, and as the mob, the Negro should have no doubt that his greatest enemy in the common white man who does not have enough intelligence to know the injury that he is doing to a race, even if he is paid to do so by his master. All wars in Africa, in the colonies where the natives have been shot down and punished, were carried out by the common white man in the ranks. In the lynchings that have occurred in the southern section of the United States of America, the mob has always been made up of the lowest class of the white race. No governor, state official, or major aristocrat has ever been found in the mob or leading the mob. The mob has always been made up of the common, ignorant people from whom communists are made up of and whom the party is intended to give political power and economic advantages. The threat to run Negroes out of Jamestown, Pennsylvania, and the cotton fields of Mississippi and other sections of the United States were threats that came from the common white people. They served notice which stated, "Nigger, don't let the sun go down and you in this town." It was the common white people of Cardiff, Wales, who in 1923 stopped the funeral procession of a dead Negro seaman, smashed the coffin, cut off his head, and made a football of it in the streets as a protest of Negroes being employed as seamen in Cardiff, while white men wanted work. In South Africa, East Africa, and Southwest Africa, it is the poorer white colonists who practice the most wicked discrimination and persecute the natives to rob them of their rights. Everywhere it is the poor colonist and the poor white man who carries out the dirty work of prejudice against Negroes. These are the class of people for whom communist is intended. Consider that the socialists, the communists, and the trade unionists of the white race are all agitating for higher wages and better living conditions. It is evident that these economic improvements must only come at the expense of greater exploitation of weaker people. The weaker people before were the Chinese, the East Indians, and the Negroes. The Chinese have organized national resistance. The Indians have also organized national resistance. Therefore, only the Negro, who is exposed to the most ruthless exploitation, is left to be exploited in the future. Surely the low-class working white man will stop at nothing to raise his stature, even as controller of government through communism. Even though it crushes the Negro, hence the Negro must realize that he is being played for a sucker. What the Negro must do is to let the communists fight their own battles and stand back to watch them fight. The Negro must take advantage of the opportunities presented during the fight, but he must not join the fight as a communist because he will be helping to bear the brunt of the battle with no guarantee that his condition will be better, but objectively worse, because he will help to transfer government from the more intelligent and cultured in behavior to that of the ignorant, more prejudiced, and most cruel. The man who caught your forefathers in Africa was not the white capitalist, but the white sailor, who is a class of man from whom the communists are made. He is dangerous to the Negro's liberty as a common man and as an ignorant man. Never join him to destroy the intelligence that rules the civilization that has given you existence up to this present time. Anytime you are asked to join the Communist Party by your communist associate or acquaintance, tell him an answer. When you get to Russia, but not before then. Read Statement on Communism and Negro in the Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. That's 17, Communism, in 10 minutes.
Thank you, Brother Macy's. Excellent job. 9:42. I will next week. I'll have the statement on communism from Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. We are 6 minutes past closing time. Did anyone have any questions, comments in regards to what we read? I'm going to go through roll call while y'all do that. Attendance. 8 participants.
So you say you want to read 18?
No.
Oh, okay.
We're closing out.
Okay. I got a call, Kimmy. I'm sorry.
Just getting attendance. All right, so. Let me share this. Macy's. Sister Erica, I see you. Erica. Barbara James is here. Andrew. Brother Andrew.
Hey, greetings, brother John. Yeah, right
Hey,
here.
brother Andrew, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Let's see. Did I miss anyone? Okay. Now we're getting ready to close out. One thing I want everybody to understand, and it'll come up. It's going to come up in the text. I don't know exactly when. I think it's in probably the history of the UNIA, the second to last lesson. But Garvey talks about. Let me see. Wait, let me make sure I'm saying this right. Kind of related to the responsibility of the course. And I don't want y'all to get too caught up on the exam. The exam should be just a formal step in the process. The key thing that Garvey says in this text is, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it right in front of me, but he basically says you will know who has mastered this information based on how well they can organize. So, who gets the best grade, the highest number, the most accurate answers, you get a clap, and you get a pat on the back. You did it. You did a good job. You were able to, I don't want to say memorize it, but recollect and internalize these lessons, which is good in your mind. But we must show, it's not just a written exam, but it's in our actions and our ability to organize is where Garvey says you will know who has mastered this course. So I just wanted to say that, again, this course is not a check, to say that you did it. This is a responsibility to show the world that you know it. And we show the world that we know it by how well we can organize. So anyone have anything in closing before we close out? Okay. So we will be back next week. I think it's actually January 31st. This is last year, it was February 1st. But we'll be going into, we were supposed to do commercial and industrial transactions today. Is that transaction? I thought it was another word, commercial and industrial intercourse or something. Oh, it is transaction, okay. But next week we'll go through questions from Communism and read the lesson on commercial and industrial transactions. We're actually a little bit behind. We were supposed to do 2 lessons twice and we only did it once, but we'll probably get caught up. We'll try to get caught up next week. If we don't have anything, we can close out. Any comments in closing? Questions, anything? Okay. So if you would, please come off mute, repeat after me. We'll close out. One God.
One God,
One God.
one aim.
No, hold on. All right. So one God,
One God.
one aim,
One aim.
one destiny.
One destiny.
One destiny.
Africa,
Africa.
for the Africans.
For
For
the
the
African,
For the
African.
African.
Those at home,
Those at
Those at
home,
home.
and those abroad.
Those abroad.
Those abroad.
those abroad.
Race first, family.
Race
Race
first.
first.
Race first.
Have a blessed evening. Go in peace. Get some rest.